canines, also known as a man's best friend, loyal and loving you unconditionally. Hi, I'm Athena McClure. You may remember me from such canine films as Buddy Comes Home and Sudden Male Urges. Today, we are embarking on the journey through training using Pavlov's classical and Skinner's operant conditioning. Together, they go hand in hand for the application of shaping. Meet 22-year-old Diana Medins, a full-time psychology major at North Park University. For the past 4 weeks, Diana has been walking in the footsteps of Ivan Pavlov's and B.F. Skinner's conditioning techniques.
When I made the decision to train an animal, I was overwhelmed. I didn't know where to begin, such as what animal should I train? What should I train? How much could I train? Especially since time was limited. But luckily, I had a friend who had just bought a puppy 5 months ago, and I immediately called her up to get her consent.
Despite her fate of shaping a small 4-pound poodle and Yorkie, little did she know that Patsy barely had any training.
When trying to condition an animal to respond to a stimulus, it is essential to be aware of any prior learning experience to that stimulus. This way, you know what the animal already responds to, and it also gives a better opportunity to structure novel stimuli. I was informed that Patsy responds to no, sit, and sometimes up. And knowing this, I decided to start from the very beginning. Patsy lived with me during the training process. This way she learned to obey on my tone. And I would introduce a new command every day from the list of commands I came up with. And I would rehearse with her about 2 to 3 times a day. For puppies, it is recommended that each session is a maximum of 10 minutes. Since they tend to get bored. But Patsy was really up for it, so we went about 15 to 20 minutes. For all the commands and tricks, I used both classical and operant conditioning. For classical, I used a primary reinforcer, such as a treat, and this was for the unconditioned stimulus. For the conditioned stimulus, I used the commands. So what I did was, I showed her the treat, gave the command, and the closest she got to it, I would give her the treat or just, praise her effort. Once the conditioned stimulus was well learned, I then transitioned into the operant conditioning using a secondary reinforcer, such as a hug, a kiss, or an enthusiastic praise. Or I would use a primary reinforcer. And this is only after she obeyed the command. If she disobeyed the command, I would firmly say no, immediately following with a negative punishment such as a timeout for about 5 to 10 minutes. For the command sit, what I did was I pressed her bottom to the floor until she naturally sat. And as I was doing that, I was saying the words sit continuously. Up, sit, sit, no, sit, good girl. The command come here was a walk in the park. Come here, Patsy, come here, girl. For the command out, I then had to use that word whenever she would be in a room. So whenever she would be in a room and I would say out and then walk with her. So she's in the room and she's probably taking a shoe. Patsy, come here. Here you go. Okay. Alright, so Patsy out. Good girl. The command stay. What I would do is I would walk away from her, and whenever she would take a step closer to me, I would repeat the word stay, so that way she can associate the sound of the word stay with what she's doing right now. Patsy, sit, sit, good girl, stay. And I'm walking away, and she's staying. For the command down, I would gently press on her back until she would lay flat on the floor. Patsy, sit, sit, good girl, down. For the command go to bed, in the beginning I would place her in her bed, repeating the words go to bed. Then I would pat her bed, repeating the words go to bed, until she would sit in. Eventually, I would just point to the bed, repeating the words go to bed. And the closer she got to the bed, I was more enthusiastic and just praising her for it. Patsy, go to bed. Go to bed. Stay. After teaching Patsy the basic commands, it was time to have a little fun and teach her tricks. Now for the trick roll over, what I had her do was lay flat on the floor, and with a treat, I would kind of travel around her head until she would follow it with her head, and her body would kind of go into a little half roll. Roll over, roll over, roll over, roll over. Well, good. Yes! For the trick up left and up right, I would just have treats in both hands, and whenever she would get it right on command, she would receive the treat. Up left, good girl. Sit, sit. Up left, good girl. Sit. Up left, good girl. Up right, good girl. Sit. Sit. Upright. Good girl.